All right, cool. Mike Morelli here with Rich, and Rich has got the ski free or die hat on,
Right, that's
fully
right.
loaded today. Rich, awesome to have you on, brother. And can you just give us a quick intro about who
Yeah,
you are, where you're at?
absolutely. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you having me. My name's Rich, originally from upstate New York. The first time I guess Mike and I met, I honestly can't remember, but I'm guessing sometime in elementary school or middle school. But yeah, no, I'm from upstate New York. A little bit about me. I'm a bit of a world traveler. I've spent a lot of time living in the Middle East, studying Arabic, and then working over there. I'm also a backcountry skier, a vinyl DJ, and a musician of sorts, playing guitar and other things. So I like to have fun, and yeah, dude, it's been awesome that we got reconnected. Because I think I started seeing some of the posts that you made on Instagram, and like we probably been following each other on Instagram and probably hadn't talked since, I don't know, at a party late high school or early college or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and when I was seeing those messages, I'm trying to pinpoint exactly when I was seeing them. I think this was like pretty early on with COVID and everything, right? Is
Yeah,
that accurate?
yeah. It was actually in the summer of 2020
Summer of 2020.
when we
Yeah.
originally kind of connected.
Yeah, so like I guess at that point I had most recently been working I work in like digital forensics investigations, like specifically focused on the dark net. But at that time I was working a job supporting supporting the UAE government for cybersecurity. And it was I guess a really good experience from a technical professional perspective. But I did get fired from the job, and that was the third job in a row I had been fired from. So that experience was pretty deflating. And to be quite honest, when I was living in the UAE, even though it looked like I was doing pretty all right professionally, like making a lot of money and kind of living out like a bougie life or whatever, which, like, newsflash, I've lived in the woods before, homeless. So like bougie life is not something I'm typically accustomed to. But I was like, man, I'll dip my toes in anything. And so I tried that life out, and like in the beginning it was cool. I was like, oh damn, this is like kind of tight. But man, whenever the one problem with, like, I've spent a lot of time living in the Middle East, I always, like, for some reason, the persona I have when I'm in the Middle East is the persona I created for myself when I learned Arabic originally there in 2013,
Hmm.
which was smoke a lot of cigarettes, drink a lot, and work your ass off and like connect with locals. And so, like, every time I go back to the Middle East, it's really hard to get out of that like same kind of like instinctual mode that like is how I learned Arabic. Does
Yeah,
does that kind of make sense?
totally.
Yeah. And so, like, that was definitely contributing to other things like not being respected at work, um, having reckless sex and other things like that. I mean, I was in a new environment, and it was very different from other places I've been in the Middle East, like Jordan and Egypt. And I did get fired from the job out there and had to come home about like July of 2020, in the middle of COVID. So, like, honestly, dude, after getting, fired from three jobs in a row, and somebody who previously had been kicked out of college and kicked out of public middle school back in the day, these kind of repeating occurrences, eventually you do just kind of, when these things repeat themselves, you sink lower and lower every time. And so, like, when I had come across some of your content, that's kind of, just to give you a background, what I was going through that time. And the main thing I wanted was to go home, start running every day, change my diet, stop smoking, like,
Yeah.
just live a bit of a cleaner life, and figure out what it is I want moving forward. Like,
Yeah.
I got the professional stuff on lock. You know what I mean? Yes, I did get fired from a job, but I have a pretty unique skill set, and all those jobs have helped me a lot to where I'm currently. Um, but
Rich, can I jump in and ask you this question? Um,
please,
yeah, incredible, incredible intro, and thank you so much for the context. Because it's really going to set up this context is really going to set up exactly where this just kind of interview is going to go today, and just the transformation that you've been able to make for yourself. So it's like, you came back from the Middle East. You were in this, would you say, stuck in this position of life where you're like, I don't know what I want, or I don't know how to at least get what I want. I want
yeah,
to transition to someone who's like healthier, living this active lifestyle.
yeah.
What was that like for you at that time? Okay, you were seeing some of my posts, but like, how would you describe that situation?
Well, I guess I was feeling a lot of imposter syndrome, because me, like my identity is pretty much split into like my cybersecurity, military, Arabic linguist, investigator side, and like my creative, outdoorsy side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, those things can go together, but those worlds are, perceived as polar opposites sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a young person in that industry, it can make you feel pretty isolated, especially like when you've had some issues at work and you don't feel like you're being respected because maybe you're not fitting into the culture. So when I originally came home, I had no idea what I wanted to do moving forward because I was like, man, this something's not working out. I'm obviously in the wrong culture. I don't know exactly what it is, but I basically was reassessing to see, do I want to do more music stuff? Do I want to get more involved in outdoor stuff? Or can I find a job utilizing my skills that's just a healthier environment and then I
Mm-hmm.
can continue with those other things? So yeah, that when I did see your post, that's exactly what I was going through at that time.
Cool. And just like one more question before we transition, but like, what was that cycle of just like constant overthinking about like, what do I want? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? And what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it would go in waves because to be completely honest, like I wasn't smoking a lot of weed in the UAE, and when I came home, I can't even really remember the first like month or so because I
Mm,
just get reacquainted with weed smoking, and that's literally all I did for like a month and did not think about all of this stuff.
sure.
So to be completely honest, my initial reaction was, let's enjoy life and not worry about any of this for a little
Yeah.
bit. Which I totally did, for better or for worse. I think it was for better, to be completely honest. But like, once I kind of started coming back to planet Earth, so to speak,
Reality.
yeah, it was it would go, maybe I would wake up, I'd have a cup of coffee, and I'd be like, all right, let's go look for work. Let's go look for work. And I go into my LinkedIn and I'm starting to like try to network with people or look for jobs. And I just get discouraged really fast because it's just like I'm just like constantly comparing myself to people who currently have jobs or maybe are a little bit more ahead of me, and it was a lot of inward the negative inner voice, so to speak, right?
Yep.
And so I don't know, man. It just like that was definitely eating away at me, and I wanted to talk to somebody who could connect with me on that, maybe who came from a similar background as myself, because
Mhm.
I totally condone therapy till the day I die, 100%. There's a lot of amazing therapists out there, but they're really hard to find. And I think sometimes one of the reasons they're hard to find is because you come from very, very, very different backgrounds,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you have a totally different culture. And so, I mean, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate that because it's, Scott and I, here, it's like, there's something to be said about, like connecting with other high performing adventurous men, right? That want to live this lifestyle of, being the best version of themselves. They want to like really enjoy their quality of life. They want experiences, right? They want to like tap into this like higher sense of self and
Yeah.
really like just be like at peace with who they are, right? I mean, I think there's something to be said about that, but also going through similar struggles. Like, dude, when me and you had connected on some of those sessions, I mean, it was pretty crazy. Some of like the internal battles that me and you have both been through, right? I
Right.
mean, yeah.
Right.
So my next question is to transition this, as promised, like just in the last couple months, like what has materialized for you? Like what have been some of the amazing things that have kind of just happened in your life?
Yeah. I
I think
kind of
the work situation would be an interesting one to highlight first, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I think really what I realized is applying for jobs like through an actual application. I already kind of knew this, but I reconfirmed the idea that like applying directly to jobs is usually 99% of the time a complete waste of time. And if you're somebody who has an established network and you're somebody who's built a network slowly over time, your network is the main way you get a new job, right? And so I was trying to control the situation when I was having this like negative voice inside my head. I was like, all right, I got to get active. I got to, flog myself, do work, get hard, do it, do it, do it, do it.
Yep.
That did not work out. And so what ultimately worked out is like I just let go. I started focusing on myself. I started getting consistent. I started journaling consistently. I started meditating consistently. I started eating consistently. And I was focused on that and like 100%, because to be completely honest, man, I've been exposed to a lot of national security stuff and a lot of like geopolitical stuff. And I truly believe, some people may say this is naive, but like I guess I've seen a lot of stuff, and I know a lot of people who've seen a lot more than me. And one thing I can truly say is a lot of the world's problems are caused by people who have been traumatized, repeating that trauma on other people.
Yeah.
And so like I really like take this shit seriously, and like I've even ignored some of it while I've been like analyzing these people and stuff like that. But like I realized like, dude, I need to straighten my shit out so I can keep moving forward, you know?
Yeah.
And so letting go and just focusing on myself rather than just trying to focus on this material idea of what my next job should look like, that literally like changed the way I started living my life, you know? And I just chilled the fuck out, started hiking more with Kyle, I got all my backcountry ski equipment. I was like, yo, this is what I need. And then in that process, I reconnected with an old company called Dark Owl that I had been in touch with, earlier in 2018, when I met the CEO at a Middle Eastern Studies Association conference. And he was like the president. He's still like the president of the board of directors of the American University of Cairo. Interesting dude. His like crazy story about him. His dad was the head Christian missionary in Iran. So this guy's a white dude who speaks Farsi but grew up in Tehran, Iran.
Wow.
How many people you know like that? Crazy, right?
Well, one
One.
because of you just now.
So anyways, like I reconnected with this company, and I previously like talked with the CEO for like a year or an hour like in 2018, and he was like, yeah, let's stay in touch. And I saw that there was a job opening for like a managing analyst, like investigator. And I was like, dude, honestly, I think returning to Colorado and utilizing my skills, maybe I'm going to find the culture that I'm really looking for. You know what I mean? And I reached back out, and the stars aligned, and I started a job last January. And dude, like, it's hard to put it in words exactly how the transition is like, but like, I guess, like after you have 3 really shitty jobs in a row, like you finally get a good job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, sorry, you wanted to come in?
Well, I wanted to jump in on this right here because one of the key things that we doubled down on, right, was some of this. You just talked about it, and I have chills hearing it, because you put it so beautifully. But when you were saying, I worked on my internal world, and when I started to do that, everything else took care of itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love hearing that you shared that. It's like the number one thing that I think a lot of high performing guys, we live in denial about, that, oh, if I just get the right job, if I make more money, I'm just gonna, then everything's going to be fine. But the, one of the key things that we worked on was some of this internal resistance that you were having towards really finding a fulfilling job, right? Because you just mentioned it, the past experiences where you had been fired from a couple jobs. So it was like, oh, like,
Wait, Mike, hold on 1 second. You're good. You're good.
all right, cool. So one of the internal things that we were kind of working through is like, okay, I've had these past experiences from previous jobs where they never materialized. Maybe I've been fired a couple times, right? So there's like this fear, there's like this anxiety there, where it's like stopping you from actually stepping into a job where, boom, I am worth it, And so, can you just talk a little bit about that, because I think that's so important, Rich? How just working on that internal story, that's all it was a story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I can take it so many different ways, but like repeat it one more time. I need to think about this one more time.
How has from your past experiences, you've had some struggles with previous jobs, which created fears and anxieties and insecurities regarding getting the job that you did want, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk about how working through those things allowed you to really step into a job where you're loving it, right?
Yeah.
And now you have that trust and that faith, and you're an amazing coworker. Can you just talk about how working on those storylines changed everything?
Totally, man. Totally. I think some of it's actually like culturally based. And I think part of it is like there's a lot of like pressure in the kind of communities that we come from
Mhm.
uh to be a certain way at a certain time. And these kind of things, like whether we are working on them and talk about them with our friends, are like real and they're always there, right? And
Hmm.
there's things that we have to like maybe, talk through with people, and like I don't know, it's just like you got to be really honest about it, because whether you think it's impacting you or not, it's still there, right?
Hmm.
So I think a lot of it is admitting that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to have weaknesses, because you can't have strengths without weaknesses,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I don't know, you got to ask me again. I'm piddling out there.
Yeah, I mean, just essentially, how has working on the internal stories that were holding you back from getting the job that you did want, how did that change, right? Like, essentially, you worked on the internal stories that were telling you that you're not good enough to get this
Yeah.
job, and then you did.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess also what I realized personally is that where I was previously focusing my job searching efforts were purely on jobs that would just utilize my Arabic skills,
Hmm.
right? And so what I found out is when I just focused on jobs that would just utilize my Arabic skills, I would end up in the same exact corporate environment every time.
Yeah.
And that was like former military, very like top down, very like old school, blah, 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 blah. Even if it said it was a tech company or whatever, it was still run like a military organization. And so I honestly had to let go that like, all right, maybe I'm not going to just focus on Arabic anymore, right? But like honestly, I think that is one of the things that would like, even though I'm very thankful to say that I have these Arabic skills, in certain ways, like me just focusing obsessively on Arabic was making me actually lose sight of taking care of myself, right?
Mm.
And so by admitting that maybe Arabic is not my be all end all in life, allowed me to be vulnerable and get more real about some of the things that were deeper underneath, right?
Yeah.
And that, dude, literally like admitting that, talking to you about it, talking to other people about it, talking to my parents about it, like, and just realizing that like the only people putting too many expectations on what I'm doing is myself and nobody else.
Yeah.
That gave me, some clarity, and like that gave me confidence to be like, dude, just trust yourself and like do what you need to do, and like things are just gonna fall in place, and they did.
Yeah. Yeah. And you defined exactly what you did want. And then I remember we were having, conversations like even outside of some of the sessions in the work, right? Where you were like, dude, I just went backcountry skied. And it was like, hey, I just went out on this one tour. And then all of a sudden next week, it's like, dude, I just went on 2 tours last week. And the next thing I know, it's like, you're calling me and you're like, dude, I'm going to move out to Colorado. Dude, I
Yeah.
just skied Mount Washington. Yo, I just did all this. Like, can you just really just tell me like just some of those
Yeah.
amazing.
So some of the like the physical like outdoors stuff, it like kind of began with, I was like, all right, I know I want to, I'm back on the East Coast, I'm getting a backcountry set up. I have my avalanche certification already. It's like time to use this shit. Let's dig in deep to the backcountry culture in the East Coast, right? So I was like,
Yep.
all right, I need to get in good shape. So quitting cigarettes and running was my first priority. And so like last summer, I was getting up to a point where I was running 9 to 11 miles like 4 or 5 times a week. I think actually I went, the longest period I went was like 14 days in a row of over 8 miles a day. And it's just like going. And dude, I mean, dude, at one point I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So to say I could do something like that is like pretty remarkable.
Wow. It's epic.
Yeah. I mean, dude, there was a point in 2013 when I was learning Arabic, I was smoking a cigarette every 15 to 20 minutes and not running, and definitely not running. Flash forward, I'm like, all right, let's be consistent about running. Let's get consistent about hiking. Did some good hikes with my buddy Kyle. Bought all the gear ahead of time because I knew COVID could like the supply chain could be ruined. So I need to
Sure.
like buy my gear quick.
Yeah.
And so I got all the stuff I needed, was really stoked. And man, like being in that fitness level, like totally gave me the launching pad to, have a successful season. But the first trek I went on, which was Mount Greylock, that's the highest mountain. That's the highest mountain in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet ski, because it's almost 3,000 vertical feet, which is like pretty amazing for like a Berkshire mountain. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people would never think there's 3,000 vertical feet in Massachusetts.
Totally. Totally.
Or close to it, I should say. But anyways, like that was my first one, and that was like maybe like a 7 mile trek, and my feet got numb for 48 hours afterwards. It was the first time I wore those boots. But honestly, like growing up as a ski racer, like we do like pain. So that only like kind of made me want to get deeper into it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And dude, I literally this past year I skied 74 times, and over 30, like I think like 37 or 38 of those times was all backcountry. And my last my last big trip was about June 17th or 20th, when I went to Estes Park and skied Sundance Mountain, which is almost at 13,000 feet, almost at 13,000 feet. And yeah, that was a sweet day. That was a sweet day. So yeah,
Wow.
dude, and honestly, like what I basically realized is like for years I was like, dude, I'm a skier, but like, my priority is Arabic. Like, this is like my destiny. This is what I got to focus on Arabic, live in the Middle East and do all that shit. And I'm glad I did that. I don't regret it because I'm here, but I'm finally realizing that I was like avoiding my total outdoorsy part of myself. And like that was manifesting in weird ways.
Yeah.
And so like, even since I've come back to Colorado, which I kind of, I went on this road trip in late May to, discover where I want to live next and all those things. And like, I think I already knew I wanted to be in Colorado before that. And as soon as I got here, it re-realized itself. It just, Colorado answered the question for me. It was like, dude, Colorado provides the culture that I want, in terms of what I'm doing for
Yeah.
work, in terms of what I want in my life.
Yeah.
And dude, it feels good to now, I just signed the lease a couple days ago, and it's real, it's happening. So
Wow.
I'm just so stoked to be here, because like I know exactly, like by being here, I'm going to be able to like equally realize my professional goals, my music goals, and my skiing goals. Because dude, I didn't even tell you this, like on top of, getting ready for a sixth ski season this year. This week on Thursday, I'm meeting up with a couple DJing friends in this hostel that I just stayed at. They want me to do like a weekly DJing residence,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna be within a month. I'm gonna be playing music on a weekly basis as well.
It's, I love hearing this. Like and I think it means so much more because I've known you for a while, Rich. Like we were never like super tight friends in high school or
Right.
anything like that. And, but it just means, it just means, hearing this and the excitement in your voice. Like if you could even think back to 6 months ago when we first started to now, like what you've achieved in that period of time is unreal.
I know.
And if you could sum it up in a sentence, right? If you could say from blank to this, like how would you describe your transformation in a sentence?
Genuine, man, genuine,
Yeah.
genuine transformation. Because it's like I'm pretty good at being myself, but I get really hyper focused on things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get hyper focused on things sometimes, I kind of forget, I can forget things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this transition, this is the first time that like I allowed myself not to have a plan, for, like not to be like, oh, I have to have this next job, or I have to have
Yeah.
this, or whatever it
The
is.
pressure.
I literally allowed myself to take a break.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I needed was a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say one of the biggest problems that, just high performing adventurous men struggle with is that we force, and I'm just put my hand up here because, we force the result, right? We like want to control. We're so over controlling. Like we want to control, the way that we feel and our thoughts and like the outcomes and the relationship and other people and everything. And we hyper control that. But the problem is that the best things in life, like we were talking about this before we even started recording, was like that things should happen organically. Like you should be able to
Yeah.
define what you want, but then also let go of when it actually materializes. And when we just focus on ourselves and becoming a better person and really on the action steps required, things just start happening. And that's how it happened for you. Like you were like,
Yeah.
yo, I want to start backcountry skiing. And now you hit me up the other day and you're like, dude, I want to go down to Patagonia. Like what else can we look forward for you, man? Like what do you got coming in the next few months? So you're talking about music. What else?
Yeah. So let's see, music. I'm cultivating a positive romantic relationship with somebody for the first time in years. So that's really exciting. And this person's not a wilderness person, but they're very open to learning more about it and spending time in nature, and just like super stoked.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the big ones. Actually, going back to New York and getting all my music equipment, the rest of my ski equipment, and officially moving all my stuff to Colorado. That's a big one, right?
Hmm.
I was looking into South America because I really wanted to go, but it's a bit difficult for because of COVID right now. You're
Sure.
not really allowed to go there. I mean, I talked to your buddy, and he did actually introduce me to a guiding service that can like somehow work around the COVID stuff, but it seems stressful. So I'm like, man, I'm
Hmm.
gonna I'm gonna take advantage of Colorado. So I have, for my 30th birthday, I've taken 6 days off of work, and I'll be out in I'm not sure exactly where yet, but somewhere in the Rocky Mountains between here and Telluride, doing and my off-roading in my truck, meeting up with different friends, going on hikes, and probably do like a 8-day adventure out in the woods.
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And then I'm just like, I'm waiting for that first 6 inches or 12 inches of snow.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Because I saw today on Snowbrain's Instagram that it snowed in Italy. So
So you just booked a flight.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I just about two or three more questions here, and we can wrap this one up. Was there a piece of work that we did that was really one of the most beneficial that you felt like unlocked a couple doors for you? Was there a particular session or piece of work?
Dang, I haven't thought about it in a second. There's one that's coming into my mind. I want to say it's when it was like, was it, what,
Can you just describe maybe what it was?
yeah, it was something like identifying a few insecurities or something, and then writing about them, the examples. I think that's what I'm
Yeah, was it potentially like the bias, judgment, insecurity
Yes,
one where we?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. Just like a little awareness tool for sure, eye opener. Would you say like this, just like working with Peak Prosper, would you say it's been beneficial for you?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, geez, nobody's a Houdini. Nobody, there's no
Yeah,
magic genie bottle and anywhere you go. So
totally,
I think
totally.
everybody needs to have that mindset when they go into anything. You know what I mean?
There is no silver bullet.
No, man, no.
No.
And by thinking there's a silver bullet is probably why you're here in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, the amount of money that I've spent on personal development and coaches and different people, some people would say, oh my God, that's a lot, but it's like it's just a continual learning process. And if the key is, if you're feeling totally stuck and overwhelmed and stressed out, and you're not living the life that you should be, it's really important to do something about it.
Absolutely. And you're
Yeah,
and also, like, you're not the only one going through these things. Like,
totally.
most of us are.
Yeah, totally.
Most of us are.
So you feel like you've gotten your return on investment?
100%, man.
Cool.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Cool.
It's been a fun experience, and like I I'm looking forward to staying in touch and seeing how this develops, and seeing how other ways I can be involved in the future. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I can say that much love. It's super cool to have you as a good friend now, man. And
Hell
um,
yeah.
to like, just, I'll say it again a million times over and over. I'm incredibly proud of you, Rich. Like you really you've totally just changed the way you're going about life. And it's epic. It really is. So thank
I
you.
appreciate it a lot, man. Thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
for sure. All right. We'll catch you.